Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail Self, and today we're going to be spectating some scrolls. This is a ranked game, or at least should be a ranked game, between Acidjib, who you may have heard of. He's been around and involved in scrolls for a very long time, since the alpha phase actually, versus Pi, who you may have heard of as a 3.141592654, repeating, lots of numbers. That's about as far as I know it, because I got bored in math class in like 4th grade. But there we go. Very fast plays here from both players. Pi playing pure energy, Acidjib playing pure growth. So this is a matchup that tends to favor growth, although that's not always how it plays out here. Pi, however, using some interesting cards here that are not standard and for decks that I see, such as Destroyer, although if you can protect your Destroyer, it's a great deterrent or board deterrent against growth, especially with a bunch of low creatures. But Jib here having a lot of good cards to really work with here and counter what's going on. That Kinfolk Veteran, or even just the Breaker, could do a lot of damage here next turn. However, that Breaker is a burn magnet, and I fully expect Pi to burn it. At least I'll be very disappointed if he does not burn it, and instead does something like plays a Clock Library. So there's the burn, Kablooey, damage prevented, Machine Priest coming up here, which heals all structures by 1, which is actually very powerful, and it's very powerful when you get Machine Divinators out too. But I only see Machine Priest more in Judgment games than ranked. I think in part because you really have to hope that it works. And healing is something that you don't see as much in games being played, except for maybe something like a Berserker with a Vial on it, because that ramps up its damage as it takes damage unless it gets back alive. But otherwise, healing is something that you don't see as often played with in these games, because essentially people do damage enough to kill things in one turn, or at least that's usually the goal. So we're back to Pi here. Jib getting down a Great Wolf. Pi sparking the structure here, and you can see this is energy. This is how energy tends to screw with growth early. It's just growth drops something on the board, energy has an answer. Growth drops something on the board, energy has an answer. Machine Priest is going to be there, at least as kind of a wall here to get this going. You can display structures if you want to, but it's a random direction, so you can't always get the stuff out to control it. However, Jib, if he wants to, can actually kill this Priest with a Kinfolk Veteran if he feels it's worth it. He can Stag Heart any number of things here. Maybe better to Stagheart the Great Wolf, unless he wants the Sister of the Fox to be more survivable. Stagheart, though, isn't really great until you get 2 Staghearts out, because it is 2 growth for a +1/+1, and the hope of your creature surviving. So you tend to want to put on something that's beefier, and beefier like a Great Wolf, which is nice except against energy, where he did play it on the Great Wolf actually, but against energy, that's just a violent dispersal away from not mattering. So here's Pi's turn, and he is playing a structure-heavy energy deck. So is it going to be the Clock Library to try and start getting some card draw? He does have a Tick Bomb, but that's not going to be a useful card against growth at all, unless Acid is playing Druid Burial Grounds, which is usually the only structure you'll see a ranked growth player play. So Clock Library as well. That is a defensive Clock Library, so kind of expecting Pi to put it on the top row to kind of maybe try and dodge up here, but this Clock Library is essentially going to be, hey, I can draw cards, or I really want to protect my Automata Forge. So Jib getting rid of the Frost Gale, which doesn't do a lot of damage by itself, although in combo with Quake can do a lot of good things later. But there's the Veteran. There's a lot of damage right there. Clock Library gone, Machine Priest hurting, and this is just where Pi's really going to have to come up with something to get everything together here. Does he drop the Ether Pump on the bottom? He gets rid of his Thunder Surge. Whew, let's see here. That Thunder Surge, maybe he wishes he had it back if he knew another Spark was coming. But 2 Ether Pumps, if he can get them going, and that is a big if, it can be devastating, but instead he's putting them up in a defensive position on the bottom row. Sometimes you gotta know when to deal them, and sometimes you gotta know when to fold them, and maybe in this case it could be better to try and establish his position up top just to get rid of this Automata Forge, maybe. Because right now, Relentless Unit here is going to be able to eat through so much of this. A second Stagheart as well. Oh boy, this is going to be potentially very ugly in a turn or two here. So Ether Pump's not going to really do any good. Another issue is that this poor Gun Automaton is not It's marked for death. He can move down here and try and do something to defend it, but if he burns, and he doesn't have enough energy to burn and concentrate fire, which would actually kill this. But just a really tough spot to be in. This is where growth, if you get it in really, really early, if you get good draws like this, can do a lot of good for you. Meanwhile, Pi just missing draws, really needing that burn at another time. So what do we got here? We got an ether pump, concentrate fire, and Pi, I think, is trying to determine in what ways is he going to die. He could try and burn the totem, and he would get a card out of that, but maybe not the best place for it. So there's a second ether pump. He's going to start trying to establish his board up top, and I guess that means he's going to cut his bottom board losses just a little bit here. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the resources to even pump his other creature, so put some damage, hope for the best. Kinfolk Brave, Crimson Bull, second Great Wolf. This is going to be ugly so fast. Eye of the Eagle for another Brother of the Wolf. So it's all pretty decent in the neighborhood here for Acidjib at this point, as he's going to actually clear that bottom row, clear the Automata Forge, and not do any idle damage, but still more than enough to make a good happy play here. So Pi has got some recovering to do here. He's got 2 Stag-Hearted Beasties, and he could Inferno Blast burn next turn. He does have a Thunder Surge in his pocket as well, but Acid's been around long enough to know better than to try and mess with that. So Gun Automaton out this turn. Fully oh, and there's the burn as well, so he's taking that out. Alright. And that is one way to do it. So Rat King, Great Wolf, Brother of the Wolf. Acid in good position right here. Can actually take out a lot of idols if he wants to. Sacks for resources, which you can always pretend that the other player has the God Hand here. Oh, but see, look at that spread. That Thunder Surge is just not doing a lot of good. You can really dodge a lot of that stuff, or a lot of that issue. So he can spark for some damage here. He can play Hellspitter Mortar and start to try and defend things. He can play Cannon Automaton and try and get some board presence. Maybe better to spark and mortar and just try and get up some defense. Spare the idols a little bit longer. I'm sure what he'd really love to have right now is a Violent Dispersal, but that's not in the hand right now. So Pi once again taking his time with his turns, moving his creatures up, just trying to dodge. He got rid of the Bombard. And there's the Cannon Automaton as well, so just putting that up top. He's conceding his bottom idols right now, which can be a really, really tough place to be. And Acidjib getting rid of the Fertile Soil, which is a little troublesome, but I understand why, because he has the cards that he needs right now. And is Acid actually going to go for the Ether Pump here, or is he going to go for the 2 creatures down below? Right now he's just moving all of his units up, getting rid of the Ether Pump, getting rid of the defensive structure for that Cannon Automaton, 1 idol down. This is not going to be pleasant, and especially, once again, that box spread right there against the Thunder Surge, just textbook. But what can Pi do to recover here? He can try and put some damage down, he can try and get the Solemn Giant, but once again, he's not able to get the resources to pump it up because he's just been fishing for cards, and maybe that's where Machine Chant works really nicely for energy, because that is a ramp and direct damage. But at this point, he's going to go for the Spark and at least take out one of the Stag-Hearted units. It's better than nothing. Unfortunately, for Pi, Acid can probably... Well, let's see, he already played the Mangy Wolf, so there's plenty of ways to haste units, though, in Growth, that's for sure. And if he can haste any unit at all, Acid can take out a second idol, but I have had plenty of losses to energy when I've taken out 1 idol. So there we go. Oh my god, another friggin' Stagheart. But there's only 1 on the board right now with the +1/+1 Great Wolf. So, I mean, that's not so bad, but a God Hand next turn means that this game is very possibly going to be ending pretty freaking quickly here. So is he going to play the Stagheart on the Great Wolf? Yes, he is. No God Hand this turn, but you can bet yourself there's going to be one next turn. More importantly, unless Pi has a Concentrate Fire, this is not going to do a lot of damage, but he does have a Thunder Surge, and he gets a Machine Divinator out really late, so this is not over yet, folks. He can actually play the Thunder Surge, sacrifice this. Oh no, he doesn't even have to do it. He can take out one of the Great Wolves. So that is where Rat King, that's why I try and avoid Rat King to an extent against Growth, because Rat King is pretty devastating. So there's your God Hand of Disappointment, because that opened up the Thunder Surge play, getting everything else out there. Yes, he can take out one idol if he wants to. He actually gets a lot of wolves, which is really lucky on his part, because he can Crimson Bull here. But Pi definitely not out of this yet. Question is, I guess Acid's going to be playing the Crimson Bull here, and if I were him, I'd hold on to the Mangy Wolf right now. So that's going to be more than enough damage. It's not going to take out the Copper Automaton here. Maybe it has armor 1, so that 9 damage, yep, that's going to be enough. That is a board clear against Pi by Acid, so that is how you come back from that Thunder Surge play, although I'm sure Acid wanted to end the game there if he could have. So the Violent Dispersal just coming a little late, but I mean, that is the play of the day right now, is at least get rid of that Great Wolf, because a few Mangy Wolves not nearly as threatening, and that is the 3rd Stag Heart off the board here. Acid getting rid of his God Hand, getting a rallying, and there's a Quake as well, which is really good against these Structure Energy decks, but still in a great position right now. And I don't think we're going to see the rally. He's just going to sit on his cards, which is smart. Pi, on the other hand, can Iron Whip that sister if he really wanted to. That State Machine could have prevented the sister from coming out. So what's it going to be? Right now, getting rid of the Iron Whip, 2nd Violent Dispersal. These cards coming just too late for Pi, which is really critical in this stage. So, and I wonder here, does Machine Divinator, I assume it increases the cooldown by, or decreases the cooldown by 1, including State Machine, so that would suck to have that and the Machine Divinator dropping the cooldown, but I guess we're going to find out. It does have 1 extra health. And we get a Copper Automaton as well. So trying to keep that out of harm's way. And unfortunately, because Pi didn't play the Iron Whip, Acid able to get out the Fertile Soil that he wants to here. Again, Ragged Wolf again as well. He does have plenty of options available to him. The State Machine only doing a pittance of damage. But right now we have a base race situation for the top with a God Hand in his hand. Next turn, Pi's going to have to do something to defend his idols, and he unfortunately gets rid of the Destroyer, which could have possibly saved him a little bit, but he has got to get his units together here. And unfortunately, we are seeing the Machine Divinator not playing nice with the State Machine. It dropped its cooldown 1 turn, so the State Machine's not going to be out nearly as long as maybe Pi would like. But he's got to play an Ether Pump up top or this game's over. So there we go. So it looks like Acidjib, if he wants to God Hand, he can get this down to 1 idol. But he's not quite at the rally range either, but he does ditch the Quake because there's no Quake to Victory play here. And there is 2 Kinfolk Veterans now, so he can actually play a Sister of the Fox. He can actually put some pressure on the bottom idol as well, because that State Machine's going to be gone after this turn. And if he wants to play a Sister of the Fox, at least for card draw, that's one thing, but there's the 2nd Mangy Wolf, so there is an Ether Pump that's not going to be completely down. So he does play the Sister of the Fox just for card draw. So once again, a God Hand can do a lot of good next turn, but it's not necessarily going to end the game by itself. Whew, he needs a little bit more than a burn here, though. Pi definitely is kind of in the backseat right now. A Thunder Surge would be nice, but not game-changing, other than to clear some of those wolves. So what's it going to be? The two avatars staring stoically with smug faces at each other here. So he can Iron Whip, he can burn, he can try and get rid of some creatures, but can he play something to protect his idols as well? He doesn't have a ton of resources to do both. So there's the burn. He gets a Machinated. Well, that is a card that would have been useful before, but there we go. Not gonna get it on the Divinator here because it does not attack. But that Ether Pump's going down. And I guess he's saving the Iron Whip play, and I guess, is that going to be a good game? It could be. Depends on where Acid drops his Veteran. Well, let's see. He's not going to be able to God Hand this turn and make it done. So rally to get out an extra wolf, perhaps. No, rally to attack the Divinator. That's interesting. Okay. So cards down. Once again, Acid trying to avoid the play that he... Trying to avoid the play, the Thunder Surge, if it's available here. Pi with a Destroyer, which he could Iron Whip to take out 2 creatures. There's just not a lot of great targets for a Violent Dispersal at this stage of the game. And that's got to be a little frustrating. Because once again, Pi's going to have to defend against the God Hand play one way or another here. And he does have the resources to do it, so he's going for 9. He's going for the Destroyer. And is he going to Iron Whip it? Yes, but unfortunately for him, I think that play might do him in here. It depends, though. Because, yeah, all Acid has to do is God Hand and summon a wolf with this Brother of the Wolf right here, and that'll end it. But no, he plays a totem instead. So the God Hand up there, if he had moved these units up there and summoned the Brother of the Wolf right here, summoned with the God Hand, that would have done the 1 idle damage necessary. So Acid once again, or not once again, I keep saying once again because I keep seeing players fail to win games on certain times, which once again I'm super guilty of that as well. But Pi struggling to hold on here. Pretty much all he's getting at this point is Divinators. And yeah, we're just watching this one go downhill. Pi hanging on as much as possible, but Acid just keeping everything in front of him, trying to get out a creature per turn, and so far it's working out pretty nicely for him. So he can get out a Hellspitter Mortar, he can get out a Copper Automaton. And at this stage of the game, that could be more than enough. Of course, now there's the question of the bottom row. All Acid has to do, if Pi doesn't defend it, and he doesn't, is summon a wolf here, and then God Hand, and then move both of those down 1 row, and that'll be 10 damage. He can God Hand up here, so this is GG one way or another. If he misses this, I don't know what to say. There's 2 God Hands, they're screaming at him, do the God Hand play, do the God Hand play, please, please, please. Acid, come on. Move these 2 down here, that's 10 damage. Okay, I'm not going to criticize because I've once again been in this same situation before, but he's now had 2 opportunities to end the game. And now he has 2 idols down to 1 health, which is sort of like Loyal Darkling, bam, bam, but this isn't Decay. So here we go, Machine Chant is going to do 0 damage. Copper Automaton, who knows. There's really no plays Pi can make at this point because Acid has a second God Hand in his hand, and maybe that's what he saw. But he's going to try and defend 1 idol to the last. 2 idols to the last. But that's not going to be enough. That is going to be the end of the game as he has God Hands ad nauseum. There we go. That's it. GG. Acidjib taking the victory, getting some more of that precious, precious rating against Pi. And this is kind of the conundrum you run into. Sometimes you'll see an energy game where the energy player can just keep denying growth things to go on the board. But this time Pi got a fast start, got 2 Stag Hearts early, and was just able to get the knockout blow early enough to where he had so much board control that Pi just did not have the cards to come back from it. So that's it for now. This is a way to fail spectating another game. You learn things watching every time, and hopefully me watching other players and sort of seeing what they do helps me in the long run. And I hope it helps you all out too. So feel free to shout out on any moves that you liked or things that you thought I said wrong, because I do pay attention to what you say if I miscall something and try and correct that for the next time. But once again, thank you all for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you like what you see, or at least comment or +1 or whatever. But that's it for now. I will see you all next time.